Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. I've spent the past 48 hours or so mulling over this situation with PUBG in my mind. I decided to lay aside all of the anger on both sides of the aisle, being those who are tired of the cheaters are already frustrated, and those that call anyone angry with the cheaters xenophobes, because that's apparently a thing. I realized that there is a general lack of understanding as to the how and the why of the situation, and if it's one thing I'm good at, other than soapboxing at the drop of a hat, is my ability to identify the issues and find the pertinent information. So here is the pertinent information that I've found in this regard, and I would ask that anyone wanting to post a "but what about this" comment, I would ask you to please wait until the end of the video. Too many people make a comment about something that I clarify just a few moments or a minute or two later, and I would hate to be a waste of your time. But first, to start off, I know this topic will piss some people off, just as my previous videos on PUBG have done the same. I'm perfectly fine with that. I fully acknowledge that I will not be able to please everyone all the time. And as I am one of those evil centrists that so many people hate, I know that there will be a few people calling me a racist on one side of the fence, and a few others calling me a cuck or some other such nonsense on the other. So be it. I will not kowtow to extremists no matter which side of the fence they're on, and I will continue, as I always have, to attempt to provide consumer awareness and protection through information. Knowledge is power, and I will not allow someone getting butthurt to keep me from doing my job. And make no mistake, it is a job, and it is my job to not allow feelings to get in the way of fact. Emotional obfuscation does no one any good at all. I save that for bad days on Twitter and my Discord, not within my videos. As I had discussed in my previous video, Brendan Green, the original developer of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, referred to those calling for a region-locked China as xenophobes, a very insulting thing to say to a large percentage of your game's player base, and seemed to be very ill-chosen words, although Green to date has not retracted or clarified that statement in any regard. That much we can take as fact, although the interpretation and intent behind the statement could be taken a few different ways. A Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines xenophobe as one unduly fearful of what is foreign, and especially of people of foreign origin. Although in this context, I think it's safe to say that Green was attempting to say racist with as many syllables as possible in the heat of the moment. Within the context of the statement overall, it's pretty clear that he was meaning racist as opposed to a person fearful of strangers or outsiders. Cheating is a terrible thing to do within any form of game that has a person or group of people competing against others. No one likes a cheater, and cheaters are scum. I think this is a wholly agnostic statement that, for the most part, knows no governmental borders and recognizes no skin color. To be frustrated or angry with one that cheats is not in and of itself a qualification for racism. I just want that made perfectly clear. But why do they do it, the cheaters that is? Actually, let me clarify, why do there seem to be so many Chinese cheaters on servers outside of their own region? Are their own servers so terrible that they're just looking for a better gaming experience, or are there other considerations to take into account? Before we get into that, I feel we do have to clarify the percentage of cheaters based upon player numbers. The reason for that is the most common argument I've heard is there are more Chinese players than others, so naturally there will be more Chinese cheaters. This is what is commonly known as a correlative increase. The most basic example I can think of is that of percentages, and I'm just going to throw some arbitrary numbers out here for the sake of example. These aren't actually accurate. If a country, say America, made up 50% of the player base of a game, by direct correlation, one could make an assumption that approximately 50% of all cheaters would be from America. Sounds reasonable, I think. The more people there are, naturally, the more cheaters there will be. And we can even factor in an anecdotal increase to that as well. While America may make up 50% of all players, let's say the next largest player base was the UK at 8%. And then let's go even further to say the remaining 42% were divided up amongst 80 or so other countries. It sure would seem to a lot of those countries that almost every cheater they find is a bloody American, wouldn't it? And that correlative figure matched with anecdotal evidence is what many people tend to rely on to actually say that it just seems like all or most of the cheaters are from China. And in this regard, I've even had people in my own comment section refer to the 90% or the 99% as a myth. So let's start there. First of all, according to Brendan Green himself, the 99% is no myth. It actually came from a statement made by Brendan Green in an interview with Kotaku's Nathan Grayson in December of 2017. In that, Brendan Green stated, "BattleEye have already tweeted out that I think around 99% of cheats in the game right now are coming out of China." And yes, I already know what some, or at least one of you, are already thinking and are probably already typing in the comments section if you didn't pay attention to my request at the start of the video. That 99% figure is of cheaters caught, not of the actual number of cheaters. And that's a valid point. It could very well be that the numbers are disproportionately skewed for some reason, although with literally months of data and over 2.5 million accounts banned, I think it's safe to say that we can take BattlEye and Green at their word, at least for the sake of argument. If for some reason later down the road it's found that those percentages were actually inaccurate, I will be more than happy to issue a retraction video. So let's assume for the sake of argument that their numbers are correct, that 99% of cheaters in PUBG are Chinese. Now, if we draw from the idea of a correlative increase, then 80 or 90% of all PUBG players are most likely Chinese as well, yes? Can we safely assume that logic without being labeled a xenophobe for a few more minutes at least? Thank you. Alright, so how do we check on the percentage of PUBG owners by geographical location? Well, thankfully for that, we already have the tools in place by way of Steam Spy. Now, in this graph on Steam Spy, which shows ownership numbers based on the past 2 weeks of data, we can see that there is a huge number of Chinese players versus any other country in the world. But when I look at this graph, I don't see an 80 or 90%. No, I see a 47% player base, which would mean that the number of cheaters by way of correlation should be somewhere between 35 and 60%. But it's not. It's 99%. Why is that? Why are so many of them on North American, South American, and European servers? Don't they have their own? Why would they use VPNs and deal with the lag and delay of playing on servers across an ocean when they don't have to? Well, bear with me because I'm going to tell you why. The TLDR is, of course, money. But to break it down for you all, we have to look at a few different avenues of information. First, to clarify, yes, PUBG does have servers in China. This is a fact. Secondly, I had mistakenly related to people in the past that Chinese players got PUBG for free. That was inaccurate, and for those whom I relayed that false information to, I do apologize. In fact, PUBG costs 98 Chinese yen, which equates to a little over $15 US. So they do, in fact, pay for the game. Which left me scratching my head. Why would these people pay $15 for a game and then set themselves up to play on a North American server just to cheat and risk getting banned? What was the purpose? And then I remembered some news stories from over a decade ago in regards to Chinese prisoners forced to play MMOs like World of Warcraft all day, every day in order to farm gold to be sold on the digital market for real money. According to the New York Times, in 2007, this was a $1.8 billion a year industry in China, and that was 11 years ago. Now, digital goods are worth so much more money, especially in a game like PUBG that relies on its loot crate earned skin economy, or to borrow the phrase from Jim Sterling, skinonomy. And these crates have to be bought with an in-game currency that can only be gotten how, I ask rhetorically? By playing the game. It's actually somewhat similar to what we've seen with some asset flippers. These cheaters buy a copy of the game and load up on cheats to be able to slaughter their way through as many rounds as possible in order to purchase skin crates as rapidly as they can. They do this in order to earn skins worth money that can then be sold on the Steam marketplace. As some of these items are worth hundreds of dollars, losing a PUBG account is merely a business expense to them. But why do they do this on foreign servers though? Well, that's quite simple. As a merchant, you go where the customers are. These accounts may originate from China, but they need to be on these foreign servers in order to be able to interact with those marketplaces, and there is definitely a market for this sort of thing. Someone just recently spent over $60,000 for a CSGO weapon skin, for God's sake. I feel bad for those skin collectors when the game finally shuts down, I really do. And to make matters even more amusing, Bluehole Entertainment would have a clear vested interest in not terminating cheater accounts too quickly. You see, they do make money each time they ban a cheater account and the person behind the account purchases a new one, $15 at a time. If each and every one of the 2.5 million accounts that have been banned to date bought another copy of the game at 98 yen or $15 rounded down, Bluehole Entertainment just made a cool $37.5 million, and that's just off the sticker price. We also know that when in-game items are sold on the Steam marketplace, Valve and the developer get a share. This has been reported as being 5% for the developers. So now each time these cheaters sell a $100 skin, Bluehole gets another $5. So it would behoove them monetarily to ban cheaters at just a fast enough rate to allow them to collect and sell off just enough skins to keep them making money while not collecting too much to flood the markets. They then ban the cheaters and get that $15 boost when they buy another copy of the game. Now, I say this as I want it made clear that Bluehole Entertainment and Brendan Green would be directly incentivized to not take any actions such as region locking China in order to attempt to limit the cheaters. Also, it wouldn't work anyways, as Tencent itself is a VPN provider, which allows them one more avenue to profit off of its PUBG cheater economy and would completely negate the effectiveness of any form of region lock. Also, as many Americans don't realize, is that hardware ID or IP banning wouldn't work either, as PC bangs are prevalent throughout countries like North Korea, South Korea, and China. These are essentially internet cafes, so because of that added shield, the cheating literally cannot be prevented except through the implementation of tighter cheat controls like BattlEye. And while these companies may take positive steps to weed out cheaters and keep them from overwhelming the game, it would seem that all they're in fact doing is maintaining a crop, carefully cultivating as opposed to weeding out. And while some people calling for a region lock or are simply extremely frustrated might end up saying or acting out in a fashion that could be labeled as racist, making such a blanket term in order to so completely dismiss a group of rightfully disgruntled players is not only unprofessional, but as Brendan Green, Bluehole Entertainment, and Tencent only stand to benefit from not taking too strong of a stance, is also completely unethical. And people wonder why it is that I hate skinonomy games. It's because of this. But as always, please do let me know what you think down in the comments below. Special thanks to my Patreon and PayPal supporters, especially the 20 and Up Club, whose continued generosity funds this channel. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time. If you like what I do on this channel and would like to see the channel go full-time, consider donating on Patreon or PayPal, as well as hitting that subscribe button and following me on social media. Links to everything are in the description down below.